Have you ever wondered why no matter how hard you try to change your life through affirmations, new habits, vision boards, even spiritual work, your old patterns keep crawling back like echoes from a past you thought you buried? It's not because you're broken. It's not because the universe isn't listening. It's because you're still watching it, you see. Reality is not a static film playing outside of you. It's a quantum mirror, a feedback loop that reflects not what you say you want, but what you keep observing. Every time you check your bank account with anxiety, every time you walk into a room expecting judgment, every time you wake up rehearsing yesterday's story, you are anchoring the frequency of the old you, the one who lived that story. And here's the twist. The universe doesn't care about your goals, your vision board, your positive thinking. It cares about your signal. It responds to the energy you broadcast. Most consistently in observation is not passive. It is creative. Your focus collapses waves of infinite possibility into form. You are not stuck because change is hard. You are stuck because you are unknowingly selecting the same timeline over and over again by emotionally, energetically, and subconsciously watching it. But what if you could shift that? What if you could stop observing through the eyes of the wounded, the limited, the waiting version of you on? Instead, tune into the version who's already living the life you've been asking for. Because that version already exists in the quantum field. In the now and the moment you start observing from their eyes, reality will begin to bend. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why the old keeps looping and how to collapse it, not with effort, but with frequency. This isn't motivation. This is mechanics. Stay to the end, because what you're about to realize will shift how you see everything. You've been taught that change comes from doing more, from pushing harder, thinking smarter, optimizing your routines. But quantum science whispers a different truth. Your reality doesn't shift because you force it to. It shifts because you observe from a new identity. The problem is, most people are still watching their life unfold through the same emotional lens that built the very reality they're trying to escape. You think you're being present, but you're actually repeating, emotionally reliving moments of fear, lack, or shame, while calling it memory, logic, or realism. That's not observation, it's reinforcement. The quantum field doesn't distinguish between what is real and what is vividly felt. It simply reflects the vibration. So when you keep watching your old timeline with the eyes of disappointment, with the weight of self-doubt or the frequency of not enough, you're not just remembering, you're reselecting. You're saying to the field, this version is still real for me, and the field, with its precise neutrality, complies. This is why your past seems to repeat, not because it's destined, but because it's familiar. The moment you wake up and feel dread, check your phone for bad news. Anticipate that text that never comes. Compare your life to someone else's year, tuning your signal to a version of reality that already knows how to disappoint you. And the scariest part, you've normalized it. You've mistaken vigilance for preparation. You've mistaken emotional repetition for truth. But what if this isn't the end of your story? What if you could shift from the inside out, not by adding more goals, but by subtracting the lens that keeps broadcasting the old you? Because when the observer changes, the observed must follow. So let me ask you this. You wake up each morning with the best intentions. Today will be different. You tell yourself, you try to think positive, visualize the life you want, maybe even journal a little. But by midday, you feel that familiar weight pressing down on your chest. The messages you hoped for haven't come. Your mind drifts back to a mistake you made years ago, or worse, a version of yourself you've been trying to outrun. You check your bank account, your reflection, your notifications, not with excitement, but with quiet dread. It's not loud, subtle. It's a low hum of dissatisfaction that never seems to leave, and you wonder, why am I still here? No. Read the books, done the practices, listen to the meditations. But the life you desire, the freedom, the love, the peace, it still feels just out of reach, like watching it through glass. Here's the truth. No one told you. It's not because you're not trying hard enough. It's because your nervous system, your energy field, your subconscious mind is still tuned into the old reality. You are watching your life unfold from a state that expects struggle, expects delay, expects disappointment. And that expectation, no matter how quietly it hums in the background, is the signal the quantum field receives. It doesn't matter how badly you want change if you're still broadcasting the frequency of fear. This is why old timelines return, like ghosts. Not because they haunt you, but because you keep calling them with your attention. And the longer you focus there, the more solid they become. But what if you could shift that signal? Not in theory, but in your body, your brain, your breath. What if the version of you who already lives in peace, love, and freedom isn't for it's just vibrating at a frequency you haven't tuned into yet? The next chapter will show you how to access that version not through effort, but through through coherence. Because what you're seeking isn't outside of you. It's waiting to be remembered. Most people don't realize that their brain isn't just processing reality, it's predicting it. Neuroscience calls it the predictive mind. Your brain is not waiting for the world to happen. It's generating simulations of what it expects to happen based on your past. And here's the twist. Your body, your chemistry, your emotions, they all align with those expectations. That means if your nervous system has been trained by years of disappointment, heartbreak, scarcity, or rejection, it doesn't just remember those experiences, it expects them, prepares for them. It vibrates at the frequency of, I already know how this ends. So even when you try to create a new vision for your life, your biology may still be locked into the emotional code of your old story. And the quantum field, it doesn't read your mind, it reads your signal. Its signal is a blend of your thoughts, your emotions, your breath patterns, your posture, your heart coherence. When these elements are out of sync, when you say one thing but feel another, the field receives contradiction, not clarity. That's why affirmations often fall flat. That's why visualization can feel like pretending, because deep down your system is still rehearsing the frequency of lack. But there's good news. Your brain and body are plastic. It's not in the fake sense, but in the scientific sense. Neuroplasticity means your patterns can be rewritten. Your frequency can be retuned. The moment you observe life not from your wounds, but from your wisdom, from the version of you who's already living the dream, the circuits begin to rewire. The nervous system begins to relax. The heart begins to synchronize. And coherence emerges. In that state, your signal becomes strong, clean, magnetic. That's when the field listens. That's when timelines bend. You're not just imagining anymore, you're becoming. This is not wishful thinking. This is how reality collapses from energy into form. So how do you begin to shift into coherence, a state where your mind, heart, and body align into a single clear frequency? It starts with awareness, not effort. Begin by noticing where your energy is leaking every day, the moment you wake up and immediately feel anxiety before anything happens. The way you check your phone looking for proof of lack, the way your shoulders tense or your breath shortens when you think about the future. These are not random reactions. They are signatures of the old signal. Now, shift begins the moment you reclaim your attention from autopilot. Before your feet hit the ground in the morning, pause. Close your eyes. Ask yourself not what do I have to do today, but who do I choose to be today? Then breathe. Not shallow stress breaths, but deep heart-centered breathing. Inhale into your heart for 5 seconds. Exhale slowly. Do this for just 3 minutes. Why? Because this activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the part responsible for safety, connection, expansion. When your body feels safe, it opens, it aligns, it broadcasts trust and add intention. As you breathe, visualize not vaguely, but viscerally, the version of you who is already living the reality you've been asking for. Where do they live? How do they walk? What do they feel as they drink their morning coffee? Answer messages. Create. Connect. Move. Let those emotions flood your body now, before any evidence appears. This is the quantum secret. The field doesn't respond to delay, responds to directness. The faster you feel the future, the faster it collapses into now. Do this daily. Not to beg the universe, but to tune to it. Because the field is not holding your dreams hostage, it's waiting for a coherent signal. And the more often you align that signal, the less you have to chase. Reality begins to find you. Emotion is the true language of the quantum field. While your thoughts set direction, it is your emotional state that energizes the signal. You can think abundance all day, but if you feel fear underneath it, that's the frequency the field picks up. You can repeat, "I am worthy," 1,000 times. But if your nervous system is still anchored in shame, that's what continues to collapse into form. This is why most people struggle with manifestation. They are emotionally out of alignment with the version of themselves they are trying to become. And here's the key. The field is not judging you. It's not saying you're wrong. It's simply reflecting back your dominant vibration. Emotion is magnetic. It pulls experiences toward you, not based on what you say, but based on what you feel to be real. So if you want to shift your life, you must first shift your emotional signature. That starts with becoming emotionally fluent, being able to notice, name, and navigate your internal states. Start asking yourself throughout the day, what emotion am I broadcasting right now? Is it hope? Is it doubt? Is it gratitude? Is it lack? Then ask, is this the emotion of my future self or my past self? Because every emotion carries a timeline. Fear replays the past. Gratitude signals the future. When you feel joy without a reason, you open a portal. When you feel peace in uncertainty, you signal trust. When you feel love without needing it returned, you become magnetic. And the more you practice these elevated emotions, not in bursts, but as a state of being, the more you become the vibrational match to your next reality. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to never feel sad or scared. But you do need to become aware and choose again. Quantum doesn't reward emotional suppression. It responds to emotional alignment.
Holding a high frequency.
Emotional state isn't about pretending to be happy all the time. It's about training your system to return to alignment faster and more naturally. Think of it like tuning an instrument. At first, it takes effort, intention, and adjustments. But over time, with repetition, your default vibration becomes clearer, stronger, more stable. And here's the secret most people miss. Consistency beats intensity. You don't need a huge emotional breakthrough every day. You need micro moments of coherence, moments when you pause. Breathe, remember who you're becoming, and feel into that version of you. These moments recalibrate your field. You start to rewire your brain, your chemistry, your magnetism. The body begins to recognize joy as familiar. Peace no longer feels like a luxury, it becomes home. And the more your system normalizes this state, the less effort it takes to stay there. Eventually, high-frequency emotions stop being a peak experience and start being your baseline. That's when you become magnetic, not because you're forcing the universe to respond, but because you are the version of you who no longer needs to chase, fix, or prove anything. You've tuned in, and the field can't help but respond. This is the power of emotional stabilization. It's not loud or dramatic. It's subtle, quiet, cellular. You walk into rooms differently. People respond to you differently. Opportunities begin to orbit around you. Why? Because your field is no longer unstable. It's coherent. Coherence creates clarity, and clarity collapses timelines. You're no longer asking the universe if you're ready. You're declaring it with your presence. And when your presence speaks louder than your doubt, reality bends. So stay with this. You're not doing it wrong if it feels slow. You're training your frequency to become the architect of your life. Energy protection is not about building walls. It's about refining your boundaries and strengthening your resonance so powerfully that external chaos no longer pulls you out of alignment. The world isn't going to stop being loud, uncertain, or reactive, but you can train your system to stay centered regardless. It starts with what you consume. Every time you scroll through fear-driven news, compare yourself on social media, or engage in conversations rooted in gossip or scarcity, you're not just losing time, you're detuning your field. Frequency is contagious. So is incoherence. That's why energetic hygiene matters as much as physical health. It's just like you wouldn't walk barefoot through broken glass. You shouldn't let your nervous system walk unguarded through energetic static. Begin your day with intention. Anchor your vibration before the world has a chance to shape it. Whether it's through breath work, heart-centered meditation, or simply 3 minutes of silence and gratitude, claim your frequency first. This creates a buffer, a field of coherence that travels with you. And when you're in situations that feel dense, chaotic, or misaligned, Instead of resisting or absorbing, practice broadcasting. Focus inward. Tune back into your elevated state. Remind yourself, I don't match this frequency, I influence it. And here's where true mastery begins. Not when you avoid the low vibrations, but when you remain stable within them. Because your stability is what invites others to rise. Become the tuning fork. You shift rooms without saying a word. Your calm becomes contagious. This is how you protect your energy, not through fear, but through embodied presence. The more consistently you choose your own signal, the less the external world controls your internal state. You're no longer reacting, you're leading. Energetically, quietly, powerfully. Quantum entanglement isn't just a theory reserved for subatomic particles. It's a living principle that applies to you, your consciousness, and every possible version of your life. When you understand that every version of you, successful, peaceful, abundant, deeply loved already, exists as a waveform in the quantum field, the game changes. You stop asking, how do I create that future? And instead ask, how do I align with the version of me who's already living it? Entanglement means connection beyond time and space. It means your future self is not a fantasy, it's a signal. And the moment you begin to feel, think, and act from that version of you, you begin to sync with it. Your nervous system starts attuning. Your electromagnetic field begins to vibrate at the same frequency. And when that resonance is strong enough, you collapse that timeline into now. This is not about pretending. It's not about faking confidence or wealth or love. It's about becoming the observer who no longer waits to feel worthy, safe, powerful. You generate it now. You walk like them. You breathe like them. You make decisions as they would not because you're forcing something, but because your signal has shifted. The field doesn't respond to effort, it responds to coherence. The moment you become vibrationally entangled with your future, the path begins to open in ways logic could never orchestrate. The people show up. The ideas land. The doors that once felt closed suddenly unlock, not because the world changed, but because you changed how you observe the world. And observation is creation. You're not pulling a future toward. You're collapsing into it through frequency. Living from the frequency of your future self is not about escaping your current life. It's about infusing the now with the energy of what's already possible. It's the difference between reacting to life and radiating into it. To make this shift sustainable, begin every morning not by checking your notifications, but by checking your vibration. Sit in silence, even for just 3 minutes, and tune in. What signal am I sending today? Anchor your breath. Visualize the timeline you are choosing, not hoping for, but selecting. Then, as the day unfolds, use small cues to realign. Phone reminder that says, observe from the new you. A moment before each decision to ask, would the future me say yes to this? These aren't rituals for show, they're recalibrations. You're not just doing life. You're broadcasting a frequency. Every thought is a dial. Every emotion is a transmission. Every choice is an alignment. And before bed, return to that stillness. Replay your day from the eyes of the future you. Feel gratitude not just for what happened, but for who you were being. This loop, morning activation, daily recalibration, evening embodiment becomes your new default. Not because you're forcing it, but because you're remembering. You are not separate from your dream reality. You are entangled with it. And each time you live from that truth, you collapse more of it into form. This is not performance. This is physics. And now that you know how it works, the only question that remains is, will you keep observing the old, or will you finally tune in to the new? If this message stirred something in you, if a part of your soul whispered yes, then stay with this frequency. Like, share, subscribe. Not because it's trendy, but because it's how we build coherence together. This isn't just a channel, it's a field, and you, by being here, are already part of it. Keep watching, keep rising, and remember, what you observe, you become.